this is something I've wanted to do for a while, is go live and talk about some of the stuff that we're going to use for opener. And I kind of got the Wreck and Rack box loaded up here, but I just want to talk about some of the stuff we have in here, and I'll kind of show you guys and explain why it is we're taking what we're taking, because it's easy to just pick a few lures for opener in Ontario. You don't really need a whole tackle box full, but it's always fun to bring a lot. And if the fishing's not great, you want to be able to have some options to at least try some different lures while you're out on the water. Let me see what's going on here. All right, so starting off, the last couple of years we've had pretty good success with that kind of dive and rise or modified dive and rise. And looking back at the videos from the past couple of years, the original dipstick, that's been a standout. And this is a brand new dipstick. That cool foil, very Cisco-like. So I'm going to take those two. I know that that style of bait works. And last year on opener, I had a lot of success with the SRJ from Pandemonium Tackle. So between that style of bait and that's going to kind of keep that dive and rise thing covered. So I'm going to throw those back in. And for you guys just kind of joining, I want to talk about the baits that we're using, or at least loading up for the opener here tomorrow in Northwestern Ontario. So we got a couple dipsticks, which I know confidence baits of ours. I know they work. SRJ is one that I know is going to work. No question there. Let's see if I can get this tucked back in here. And if I'm going to bring a Suic, and I know Dave's going to bring a couple Suics, for me, I have to bring the original. This is the one we call the one. That's kind of what started the silver jailbird craze for us. And you can see right here all the silver jailbird stuff we have. And it all started with this one lure. So I have to bring this one because it's one that I have so much confidence in. So I'll throw that in there and show you guys a couple other things that I'm pretty excited to include. So I don't throw a lot of glide baits. So I am going to take this one here, Silver Jailbird, and that is from ZM Baits. That's his Peach Glide. Hey, Adam. Obviously, you jumped right in and seen your stuff there. And I can't show you guys, but I have a bait from Top Line here that is... it's beyond next level. Adam come up with something really cool, and we're going to try and catch fish on it and see where it goes. It's a really cool type of bait. I'll just leave it there. What are we fishing for? We are fishing for muskie. So the biggest, baddest fish in Northwestern Ontario, that's what opens tomorrow, and that's why we're using the big baits. So I am going to take that one Peach Glide, and then this year we're going to take some crankbaits. And this is from my buddy Jordan out of Winnipeg, Crunch Time Tackle. And that's just a cool little twitch crankbait. I think you can straight retrieve it. I haven't even tried this one, but it just, that pattern looks really cool. So I'm going to take that small little twitch crank. And where did I put... So this is from Big Guy Baits. Babe Campbell was on the TRO podcast, and he talked about his baits, and this is basically just a pull bait. So you just straight retrieve it in, and he said it'll stay 1 to 2 or 3 feet under the surface on a straight retrieve. It's not really a twitch or crankbait. So I'm going to take this because after listening to his podcast, I think we can use this around weeds or really shallow rock structure. And to me, this looks like the old crankbaits. So that's something I definitely want to, try out. And then on our video from a few weeks back or last week, we talked about the Ridgway baits. Matt Ridgway out of Iowa. And this is a 6-inch. That's black with glitter in it. It's just absolutely amazing. Aluminum bill. And I want to try some of the small crankbaits around some of that shallow rock structure tomorrow if we see some muskies there. I also got a 7-inch. I think he calls it like golden carp. I'm bad with the names of a lot of these baits, but just a great looking bait. And one other one from Matt. I think he calls this like golden eye. But I mean, if you're trying to mimic a Cisco or a whitefish, how much better does it get than that? So the reason we're taking those bigger style crankbaits, which a lot of people would think are too big for early season in Ontario or Sunset Country, there's a good chance that the big females are going to be off structure already, and we want to check kind of open water but adjacent to structure, and we want to be able to present a big bait to them. Those bigger females that are post-spawn, they're looking for a meal, and we're not going to target a lot of that really shallow in the back of the bays where the smaller males are going to be. We want to try and target some of those bigger fish. Obviously, we're going to fish weeds, be looking for active fish there too, but we want to have a few baits that give us those options of going after some bigger fish. So similar style of baits is the Musky Innovations Shallow Invader. This is the paddle tail. Got the little hook extender there to keep the hook down. And Sunset Jailbird. Yeah, this is the Sunset Jailbird 2.0. And I do have a swimming dog in it. And for you guys curious, there's Sunset Jailbird 2.0 and a pounder. Definitely not taking a pounder out on opening weekend. Although on Eagle, on open water, you probably could. And I also have it in the Dying Dog. This is a very underutilized bait. One that we haven't actually used a lot neither. You got a 45 on a swimming dog last night in league. That's awesome. That is really cool. So that's something we'll be using a little bit later into the season. I don't think that's something I'm going to need tomorrow. But back to the Shallow Invader, definitely something there. And a similar type of bait to the Shallow Invader is the Kingpin from Boss Shad. Got that one last year. My wife's going to walk in the door. I'm on YouTube Live. You want to come say hi?
To whom?
To everybody. So anyway, my wife just walked in. So there's the Boss Shad Kingpin. That's similar to that Shallow Invader. That was my wife's fingers. And what would Tackle Box be without a Bondi Royal Orba? Gotta have that. We take those everywhere. And got another Royal Orba here. This one in black and silver with the Growler spinner arm. And for those of you that listen to the TRO Gear podcast, they had Thatcher from Drop Tine on last week, and he was talking about the spinner arm attachments, and on a growler or on like a swimming dog, perfect style of attachment. And before I move on to like bucktails and rubber, one other bait I want to mention here is, now that it's all tangled, this was brand new this year from the Minnesota show. And this one comes from Harvey Baits. And I believe Todd calls this his large fry. And you guys can see that kind of color shift change in that pattern. Very walleye or perch-like. Aluminum lip. And this isn't a troller. He said this is a crankbait meant for casting. It's got like that grub tail on it. Looks really good. And the videos he had at the show, it looked great. So that's one that even if we don't really use it a lot tomorrow, I want to get it in the water and I want to see how it looks in an actual, you know, straight up fishing environment. And it'll give me a good feel tomorrow for, you know, what it looks like and where we can kind of use it. Hey there, Dark 30. So moving into some Topwater stuff, couple choices straight off of our recent videos. And a few days ago, we talked about the Ruse Custom Alien. Hey, Brady. Unfortunately, Brady, I do not have a bowfin here yet. It'll be here next week when my buddy Matt gets up. So we will talk about that some more. But the Ruse Custom Alien, Walk the Dog. This thing, it looks amazing. I mean, nice paint doesn't catch fish, but it certainly makes you feel better about them. But the action on it's great. I do have some Walk the Dog coming from John Rabska. That'll be here next week. Excuse me. And the Haymaker is, the wake bait from Haymaker is just awesome. You guys, it looks so good in the water. It's one that right away we both knew it was going to fit our style of fishing. And that one has to go in the box just because it looks so good. And another one, going back to Adam from Top Line, I think I have maybe one of the only Walk the Dog ones that he had originally built. He might have a few more now. Silver Jailbird. Haven't really caught much for fish on this one. A lot of pike. Raised a lot of fish like Walk the Dog do. But this one, it's just, for me, it's kind of a benchmark style of Walk the Dog. It does a lot of really cool things. It almost has like a popper style nose on it. It doesn't really pop, but it splashes water when it moves. It's just a really cool bait. All right, where do we go from there? Bear with me one sec, guys. I gotta grab another drink here just to not get too dehydrated. All right. So let's talk about some rubber. And over the past couple of years, we've been throwing rubber. I mean, you guys seen that, anybody that follows the channel. And I'll start with two of the most obvious. Everybody knows I love the toads. And these are two old beat up toads that have caught a lot of fish for me. And I just know that taking them, it's just, they're going to work. They work everywhere. I have a lot of confidence. So that's an easy choice for me. Excuse me, is just to take a toad. And beyond that, I got to take some tubes. Love us some Red October. And because it's early season, I'm going to start with the 7-inch Ninja. Got some blades on the back. And I got another Ninja here in perch. Mass says, love the toad. Yeah, you gotta love the toads. And somehow the toads are underrated. I don't know. I don't see a lot of people using them. I don't know if the craze wore off, but I'm telling you guys, they're so easy to throw. Just that regular size, regular depth toad. You just walk that thing back and forth. They work so good. I just have so much confidence on them, especially on Shield Lakes. But Ninja tubes, love them. And then this one here, Grape Flame. It's a TRO custom color. I actually, somewhere here, I ordered a pack from Jeff at TRO just to make sure that I have enough of that color. This one caught a lot last year. Toads flat out catch fish. Most people just don't know how to work them properly. Brady, you are so right. I just had a guy reach out to me asking about how to use a toad because he was having bad luck with it, and he was rip hopping it like guys do with the Medusa, and that is just not the way to use a toad. The way to use a toad, and I think we'll do a video on that this year because it is underused and guys use it wrong, but the way is to just get it to do that hop, pull up, and then let it hop down and keep it just on a snug line. You never really want to have a lot of slack line with a toad. You just want it to be snug. And as soon as it falls down, they almost always hit right at the bottom of that fall. And if you have any kind of slack line, it's really hard to hook up. And that's where a Medusa has problems with hookup, is guys do that rip, rip, rip through the weeds or over rocks. And as it's ripping, you get slack line. And as the fish hits it on slack line and you go to pull it, if the fish doesn't have that with hooks in its mouth like that, it could easily have it on the top, and you pull that and it goes straight through. So it's just a technique thing. So we'll definitely talk about that on the channel this year, because I think if guys knew how to use these, and I know Brady, your bowfin is one that guys kind of need to understand how to use it. I haven't even thrown it, but from what I've heard, it's the same thing. You want to keep that line not tight, but you don't want slack line. So it's those little things, guys, that really make a difference. Same thing with Red Octobers. And here's Twisted Tube, black and orange. I mean, that's a staple in Sunset Country. I added extra hook right in the crutch there. Hard to see. But that way, when they head hunt that thing's going to get hooks. But same thing with a tube. You don't want to have a lot of slack line in it. You want to keep your line just tight enough that you feel any little pressure, because a lot of this rip, pull, pause style of bait, when it pauses and it stops, that's when they hit it. And you need to be right on top of it. Any kind of slack line and you're going to lose a fish on rubber. There's just no question. Yeah, Russell, I definitely got to kind of touch up on some of those subjects. We've talked about the toad, the Royal Orba, the tubes. I know there's lots of videos on there, but I think sometimes we don't go back and look at videos that are maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years old. So I think probably good to go back and look at some of those again. And that's why I did, like a tube modification stuff. I know other guys have done that, but sometimes it's always good to just have a fresh video out and get a fresh take on stuff. And I think that goes with all styles of baits. So, one of the rubber baits we got out of Odyssey, guys, is the Warhammer. That's the Warhammer right there, and it's from Toddy Tickle Baits. And Todd is just an amazing guy. And this one here kind of flew under the radar to me. And it was one that when I seen it, I wasn't overly wowed. But when I seen it in person and felt it, and it's got some weight, it casts. I've had this one in the water. It looks really good. I think this is going to be the type of bait on Shield Lakes. It's going to be really good. And Brady, no, I haven't got my spray bomb. It'll be coming up next week when my buddy Matt gets up here. And what he's talking about is I asked Spray Bomb to build us a deep glide, which he builds. And I believe we're getting like the 12-inch, and it's going to run 10, 12, 14 feet deep, glide bait, which will be something that we can utilize in that deep water, off the break lines, where a conventional glide bait just cannot get down there. So that's why that Spray Bomb deep will really fit our style. I did get some glide baits from Wicked Deadly Outdoors last year, and obviously a smaller profile, but it's heavy. Got the little twin hatchet style blades. Works really good, and it gets down there deep, but this one just didn't quite have the movement we were after. It actually is more of an intermediate kind of bait. I think when you get down deep, you need that bigger profile. So, a couple more rubber baits, and kind of coming off the back of that Toddy Tickle. You can't go wrong with a swimming dog. This is the original Sunset Jailbird before they added like the cool orange into it. So you can see the difference there in the patterning. This was the original we come up with, and this is 2.0. Either one obviously works. This one here's caught a few fish for me. I got Chaos Deep Threat weight under there. I got the magnets on there. The magnets you can get from Musky Innovations, obviously that's a Chaos Tackle Deep Threat weight. And then those are Musky Innovations UV hooks. I like having the magnets on there. That thing just stays tight. You can get that in some pretty ridiculous positions, like in the weeds and around timber, and not be too worried. And there's another classic color for Shield Lakes, just that white Cisco-y. I'm not even sure what that pattern, I think it's like Ghost or whatever it is. This one's caught a few fish for me too. So you can't go wrong with that. And gonna take a couple bigger rubbers tomorrow, talking about those fish that are sitting off of those break lines. And gotta have Quad Dog. This one's caught for me. Obviously a lot bigger bait and might not be the right choice for early season, but if we see fish sitting suspended off of structure, some of those bigger females, we're going to go after them. We're going to take a shot at them or try and troll through some of them. And a Mag Dog, just because I love the Mag Dog. I will have pit bulls next week. So I should be one of the earliest ones to have pit bulls up in Canada. Got some tear marks on it. That's always nice to see. Got some teeth marks. This one's caught. I like that. That's carbon perch. That's one of the other colors we came up with. So that's a cool color pattern. And then to kind of get into some of the bucktails that I'll be taking. This is from SS Lures, and that's their little chatterbait. So it's just got single hooks on it, like upturned hooks like a spinner bait. But it's got the chatterbait blade on it. These things thump like crazy. We didn't use them as much as we probably should have last year, and that's kind of bad on us, I guess. We should have used it more. Here's another kind of rubber modified bait. I'm not even sure what the guys call it. This is from Musky Addicts, and it's very toad-like, obviously. So looking forward to trying this. It looks so unconventional, and with that heavy head and the way the rubber attaches, I'm not sure. I mean, it's just, we got to try it and see. It could be, killer. It could be a dud. I just, at this point, I don't really know. And let's get into a few bucktails here. I could just grab one and be done. I mean, it would be easy for me to just grab the same blade with no name that I used last year that caught all the fish. And I guess I should probably change some hooks on there. They don't look very good, but I know that thing's going to catch fish. So I'm going to take, just a proven bucktail that I know will catch. And again, if we're going to target some deeper fish, I got a mini grenade, Musky Mayhem. And this is in a TRO color. I don't even know what that's called. I just like that black and purple color. Really cool. My buddy Matt comes up to Canada and he absolutely crushes on grenades. I've caught a couple. I'm gaining confidence, so that's kind of a work in progress. And in Canada, got to have some fluted 8s. This is a fluted double 8 bait from Johnny Dadson. I think this one's called the Captain's Wheel, or not sure. It's got Mortimer painted blade, just cool stuff. Johnny's always got cool stuff. And this is from Gus and Max Manti of Muskies on Tap, and they call this the Dolly. And big offset blades, single skirt, single hook, and just gonna thump like crazy. I'm gonna try that out. And one that we're really looking forward to is at the Minnesota show. We had a good talk with Brad Hoppy, and we asked Brad if he could build us a different style of detonator. And of course, at first, I think I'd have to ask Dave. I can't remember exactly what we wanted. They couldn't do it right at the show, and we're like, okay, well, can we take a detonator, basically cut it in half, make it single skirt, single hook with the big blades, and that's what we did. Basically a custom detonator that's like all blades and no bottoms. So I think this one, it feels good. It looks good in the water. It thumps like crazy. Dave's got a couple Dadsons that are very similar, but I just think like that's an amazing one. And for smaller blades, IC7, we got this in the water a week ago, and it's a great blade. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, everybody knows that this is a great blade. And I'm going to take a little 88 Dadson that this one's caught some fish for us, and I just got a lot of confidence in it. And somebody's asking me if we're going to Peralt this week. I will be on Peralt on Sunday. I have to guide out there. Tomorrow, Dave and I are going out, and we're going to call an audible in the morning on where we're going to go spend basically from noon till dark tomorrow. I've said it before, we don't get super jacked up about opener just because it's always kind of unsettled weather and the patterns aren't really developed, and fish can be all over. So it can be really good or it can be like struggle bus. So we'll call an audible in the morning, and then Sunday I do got a guide. So I'll be on Peralt and Cedar on Sunday, and I'll hopefully be able to capitalize on some stuff that we learned there last year. Got a pretty good understanding of that lake, so I'm pretty confident that we can at least encounter some fish. Catching them's always a little bit trickier, but hopefully we'll encounter some there. And then I'll be back there the following week. Gonna take a couple growlers. I know Dave's gonna take some. This is like one of the OGs that we got, like the original one. Caught a ton of fish on this one, and this is our custom pattern, 54 bus pattern. And I am going to take the Duke's Dozers one, but I'm going to take off that front treble, and if I got time tonight or in the morning, I'm going to take off that back treble and just put a single hook just so I can rip that through weeds a little bit better. It'll fit our style of fishing a lot better. One other bait I do want to mention, and I got a box. I did talk about some Topwater Joshua. I got a couple walk the dog style and the Haymaker wake bait. Up at 3 a.m. to try and beat the Bass guys for their opener. Yeah, I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. to go beat anybody for musky fishing. Dave and I are heading out at like noon. The season's long enough that I don't need to start it any earlier in the morning, because we'll be almost the very last ones on the lake in November. Last year, we were on Eagle Lake on November 17th, and November 18th in the morning, it froze over. So might have been a few guys that hit the big section, but we go as late as we can, so I don't need to start the season any earlier. But this is from Braz Baits, my buddy John. He's new bait builder. I actually got a box here of stuff from Braz Baits. Haven't even had a chance to open it yet, because what we've been doing with our box opening is try and open it, get it in the water, show you guys, and try and talk to the builders, which has worked really good. And Brady, if you're still on, when I do get some bow fins, I'm going to reach out to you and see if I can get you on maybe a live or a video, and we can kind of, talk about some of your stuff. Michael West is Drop Time selling the blade attachments. Yes, they are. They're on their website right now. They're on TRO, and I believe Thorn has some as well. But yeah, this kind of a pull style glide bait from Braz Baits. I want to try this. You can pull that weight out, maybe rip it around some of the weeds. Just gives us another option to do stuff. While I'm on blades, 2 blade with no name right here. They've never seen water. White gold chartreuse with a pink dangle blade. And then this one's called Jack Burns. I believe. Yeah. Double nickel, black, pink dangle blade. These are going to see some active duty this year. And for those of you that do follow me and us on the channel, we're going to have a really cool thing coming up with Dadson where we're going to try and, how do I explain it? If it works out, we're going to give one of you guys the opportunity to buy a game used quote unquote bucktail at the end of the year. And what my plan is that when I get a couple new baits, I'm going to have 2 identical baits from Dadson, and I'm going to use one all season. And at the end of the year, I'm going to try and pick a name, and somebody can buy that from me. If I catch 20 fish on it, it'll be $10 fish. They can buy it for $200. They can buy the game used one, or they can buy the brand new one. We'll come up with something really cool, because I just want to give back to everybody for all the support that we've got. So it'll be really something cool, guys. Some really cool blade with no name, and like they're impossible to get. Everybody knows that. So look for that coming in the future. And that kind of covers it. I'll grab a couple things here or there. But Dave and I are going to take some trolling baits tomorrow. Just in case, first day, you don't want to cast for 8-9 hours. You'll get tired. So we might do some trolling between spots. And look at this thing, guys. Leela Lures. And we picked this up at Odyssey. And Greg's just an amazing guy. We had a really good talk with him. He actually got us a couple of his baits. I have another one here. It's in a perch pattern, but I like this smaller profile. Excuse me. Looks great. So I'm going to take that. I know Dave's going to be taking probably like a Granny or a Jake, and he's going to be taking a Supernatural. And I'm going to take a 9-inch Yo Mama from Clarky Baits. And the reason I'm taking that color, that's bright and, you know, heavy look at me, versus this really natural Cisco pattern. So I want to have like both kind of bases covered there. And then I'm going to take an 8.5 Supernatural, a little bit smaller profile, but still like that big wobble of it. And that's in, you know, that really cool perch pattern with like the, kind of has the Musky imprint for the bars of the perch. So that's kind of covers, you know, most of what we're going to take, guys. Beyond that, you know, I'll grab maybe a thing here or there, and, you know, in the morning, Dave and I'll talk and like, hey, did you take this or did you grab that? And we'll just kind of, you know, do it on the fly. We're going to tell you guys about some really cool stuff that we got planned for the season, and I'll kind of leave that for the videos, because we do have some really cool stuff planned, and I just think that this season is going to be really exciting for us. We got, you know, some stuff planned that's going to push us to our limits, and I think it's going to push what we can fill them to our limits. So it's going to be exciting, guys. And Russell, did I touch on leaders? No, but bear with me. I'm going to bring some rods around, because we got some new stuff coming this year. So just hang tight. All right. So obviously on a live here, I can't really move the camera around a whole bunch, but obviously we've been using a lot of Chaos Tackle the last couple of years, and I am sponsored by Akuma, so I run the Akuma reels, and obviously we've been using the Barbarian braid, but for leaders, we use Stealth Tackle leaders, and what I'll show you on a couple of the other ones here, because I just put brand new leaders, be a little easier than the twisted up ones. So a couple other rods we're going to use this year, only because I've had trouble with some of the telescopic rods collapsing or twisting. Chaos did do warranty, and I got a brand new Moab up here. But I just want to get back to one-piece rods. The telescopic rods don't fit in my Pro Guide anyway, so I want to get back to one piece. I got some Thorn custom rods a couple of years ago. This has that fat snake head kind of gun stock butt on it. This is a 9.4, got the 400 size Akuma, but this will be my bucktail rod, And for leaders on my bucktail rod, I'm going to run the 49 strand stealth leaders. And I really like the 49 strand because it acts like a fluorocarbon, but it also gives you some more give in the figure eights and I find some more feel to a lot of the lures. It just, to me, with that wire, the lure, whatever vibration the lure has, transmits through into the rod, where I think some of the heavier fluorocarbon, especially on little spinner baits, the fluorocarbon kind of acts like a shock absorber. So if as that spinner bait's kind of wobbling, that fluorocarbon starts to kind of soften that. And I think wire, especially that 49 strand, really allows that vibration to go through into the rod. So that's the reason why we kind of went to the 49 strand for a lot of that bucktail style stuff. And Justin's asking, gonna throw a Lumux scallywag. Yeah, I got a couple scallywags. Got some really nice ones actually. For us, that will be more of a little bit later in the season when there's a more of a defined deep first break line, second break line where the fish are sitting. I like that scallywag to be heavily weighted. You can pull it in and you can just let it almost pause as it kind of falls out to the side. And it's almost like a big suic or a bar fighter, in that you can really let it hang from the back of the boat. You can work it really slow. It'll hang 6, 8, 10 feet down. For us, that's where we'll use that more a little bit later in the summer. So good question and great bait. So here's an 8-foot thorn predator. Got it a few years ago, and I got the smaller 364 reel on it. And this one I'm going to use for rubber, for twitch baits, for glide baits, for topwater. And I got a 12-inch solid wire stealth leader, and gonna have the welded ring on it, and all of that pull, pause, twitch, tubes, rubber, I'm gonna run with split ring. And I just find that gives those baits a little bit more action. And on the bucktails, where I had the 49 strand wire, I'm gonna run it with a snap, because I don't think that having that split ring is as big of a deal to the action of a bucktail or a spinnerbait, and it gives you the flexibility to change a little bit quicker. So that's the reasoning there. If we get into a bite where the bucktail bite is like really, really good, then I'll probably go to a split ring on my bucktail rod, and I'll probably just put on like a blade with no name or whatever is really working, and stick with one or two bucktails. Oh, hey, Dirk. Good morning from Belgium. And approaching target. Why not glide baits? I got zero confidence in glide baits. That's just the plain and simple truth. We've caught some fish on it. I do have, if you missed a little bit earlier, I got the ZM Baits Peach Glide here. And I may actually grab a couple more. I got glide bait here, which is really cool. It's in Sunset Jailbird from Keystone King. So that's a really cool looking glide bait. I'll probably take a couple, like maybe call an audible, but the reason I don't take glide baits is because I basically suck at throwing them, which is surprising because I do pretty well with walk the dog baits, but I just don't have confidence in glide baits, and that's just the only way to put it. I just have no confidence, and I know I need to throw more of them to gain confidence. But when you have such a wide variety of other stuff, it's hard to get away from it. So it's a work in progress. I know we have to get there. And something else that I talk about a lot is we need to get back to finesse fishing. So think flap tails. I got a bunch up there. Think prop style baits. Think walk the dog. Even think, like a hog wobbler, stuff like that. Or even some of the slower dive and rise, like a reef hog or, a bobby bait. You got to be a little bit more methodical. And I think a lot of us, a lot of you guys probably too, we get caught up in power fishing everywhere. and it's easy to power fish through a spot. It's a lot harder to slow down and finesse fish. So it it's one of those things you kind of get away from some of it. And I think now that we're a little bit better versed in the game, I think we can start to try and incorporate more of that finesse fishing, which is what I would call glide baits. You know, it's more of a finesse presentation. And somebody asked, I always wondered this: are bass really leader shy, or is it optional? I'm a terrible bass fisherman. I've used leaders. When bass are going to bite, it seems like they'll bite anything. But I think a lot of bass guys will tell you that, yeah, you want your attachment to be as absolutely clean as possible. I'm just the wrong guy to talk to about that, because I'm not good at that kind of stuff. And I think even with musky stuff, I think we as anglers get too caught up in what needs to be used, or what they can see versus what they can't see. And when a muskie's hungry or a muskie's pissed off and it's going to eat, you could literally take your sandal off your foot and clip it on a line, and a muskie's going to eat it when they're fired up. Like it just, I think we overcomplicate our life at times. But I mean, it is what it is, because when they're tough to catch, that's the point where you gotta, everything's got to be perfect, right? Well, guys, outside of that, I'm pleasantly surprised to see as many people kind of watching. I wasn't sure if this would work, but what I really wanted to do with this is, instead of trying to record it and edit it after the fact, this way I can post it up here, and other guys can come back and look at it later and kind of see what it is that we chose. And then I can look at this after a week or two and see if we picked the right lures, or if something else kind of stuck out at us. And yeah, approaching targets, like they bite boat side with a 20-foot boat right there. That's so true. I mean, yeah, sometimes fish are boat shy and they'll turn away, and that's when their mood's off. But when they're fired up, man, they're gonna eat. They're gonna eat. There's just no question. So, again, I think we overcomplicate our lives sometimes. You guys settle on a lake for opener? No, we haven't. We're just gonna call an audible tomorrow. For us, a lot of it depends on the weather and the wind, and whether we want to try and just get a couple fish on the board for the season, or we want to go and explore and try something a little bit new, or maybe target a bigger fish. Excuse me. It'll depend on that. For us, it doesn't really make any difference. We can go west, we can go north, we can go on eagle. It honestly doesn't make a difference to us. We'll kind of play it by ear. Water temps as of today, talking with a lot of the guys. Hunter from Temple Bay was just over an hour ago. Main basin stuff is like low 60s, and some of the back bays and the protected areas are upper 60s. You might see 70 kind of in the sun, but for the most part, you're looking at low 60s to mid 60s. The spawn's done. Most guys are seeing fish in and around the weeds, or like those first points and break lines kind of out of spawning areas. So I think it's going to be a pretty normal type of opener in most regards. So not that it's going to be easy, but I don't think we're going to have to go really searching for fish. I think they'll be kind of where they've been historically. So it should be a little bit easier to at least find them. Whether they're going to be going or not, we got a moon in the morning, and then we have like moon underfoots in the morning, and then we got moonrise early afternoon, which Dave and I are going to try and be out for. And then moon overhead kind of is right around sunset, so that should be the best period. I've had them jump in the boat after lures before. Yeah, it's crazy what muskies do. I mean, we've seen it and kind of heard it all. No, you're right. You only get confidence in a bait if you use it, and that's absolutely right. And that's why I have confidence in a lot of these other baits, because I do use them a lot. And you know, like the dive and rise and the crankbaits and stuff. It you gain it over time. That's the only thing. And glide baits, it's just one of those things I have to put the time into it to try and gain that confidence. And it'll come. It will come. It's one of those things that it's hard to get people to throw something when you don't have confidence. So it'll be one of the cases that as the bites start to get a little bit better, I'll start to throw a few different things, and then hopefully, you know, doing that technique, you'll kind of come around to it. Only takes one or two catches on a bait to really gain that confidence. So hopefully, if I have it in the box, I'll start to throw it, and you know, that's the way that hopefully it'll work for us. But you know, beyond that, guys, it's it's always a cool time of year, and it it's been a long off season, but it seems like all of a sudden it's here. I don't even have the boat really ready. I've been kind of rushing to get a few things ready and prepped up. And I got my boat late last year. We actually fished out of the Pro Guide a few times. Dave's got a new to him bass boat champion. So it's kind of learning the boats again and just getting comfortable with it. So the first couple times out for us are always going to be kind of exploring and learning, you know, the boat, the new baits, and every year we get so many cool things to try. So that's another thing, kind of going back to the glide baits. I always talk about give yourself 20% of your day to try something new, whether it's a technique, a new fishing rod, a new reel, a new bait, a new location, a new piece of structure. Try something new. And when we get new baits, it can be any of the new baits. You have to give it time. And it's real easy to just give up on something when it doesn't catch right away. And it's easy to get frustrated doing that. So I do have to try the glides. I do have to try some of the other styles of baits. And another one that I have zero confidence in is the beaver. Everybody catches fish on those baby beavers. I do not. I have zero confidence in them. And it's not that that's a bad bait, because it's clearly not a bad bait. And I'm pretty sure I'm running it pretty close to how most guys run it. So it's just I need to gain confidence and catch and just start to use it more. Again, I have to try and tell myself that you have to use these baits a little bit more. So hopefully this year that'll happen. But I'm going to wrap this one up, guys. I totally appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate the comments and the questions. And hopefully this is something you guys like. I would like to do this a little bit more. I got to move a bug off my camera. I would like to do this a little bit more with you guys, where we can kind of run through some stuff like this and talk about some of the strategies and techniques, maybe like week in and week out. So we'll kind of look for that, because I think this is a really easy format to try and touch base with a few guys. But again, guys, totally appreciate everything. I appreciate you guys, you know, wishing us good luck tomorrow. And as always, you guys will be there with us, because we plan on getting some of these videos out really quick. We're going to try and keep up this vlog style approach that we've been doing with the channel, where something happens and we get it out a day or two later, and I might have to forego some of the heavy editing, but we want to try and get you guys the content really quickly as it's happening. So guys that are coming up to Sunset Country, they can see what we did on a Saturday or a Sunday and use it for the next Saturday and Sunday. That's the approach. We're going to try it that way. We'll see how long we can keep it up. I got a really busy schedule coming up, so we're going to try our best, guys. But for that, I'll just say cheers. And for all you guys that are getting out for Ontario Opener tomorrow, best of luck. Have fun. Be safe out there, guys. Let's practice conservation. Do all the right things, and I will see you guys again really soon. So for now, 54 Bus is out of here. We'll catch you guys out on the water later.